Webster's dictionary defines privilege as a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. Individuals have privilege, the significance of which ranges from being related to a college admissions officer at their desired school to knowing how to pick out the ripest watermelon at the supermarket. This is fact. Before I met with my interviewees, my cut on privileges activity in an American's life was very simple. There's nothing one can receive for free that hard work and ingenuity cannot surpass. Joe Rance from Boys on the Boat being a prime example of this. He was abandoned by his father, his only role model, and forced into a fight for the completion of the American dream, or hitching a ride through government funding along with 2 million other homeless persons during the Great Depression. Joe's flexibility in juggling relationship problems, finding character aspects within himself that he could present to colleges for admissions, and not allowing himself to be weakened by knowing how close his estranged family lived to him are what make him the ideal poster boy for said dream he lived. It's not a question whether you will get hurt or how much you will hurt, it's a question of what you will do. This quote demonstrating Joe's understanding of success's contract. My interview subject Muhammad is similar to Joe in that they both went into new environments so they could better their livelihoods. Mo lived in Iraq until the age of 18 when he joined the United States military as a translator for English and Arabic. We interviewed at the Seattle Como News Building, where he works as an IT code releaser for Sinclair Broadcasting, and talked about Mo and the privileges associated with knowing English in Iraq.
Before even that. So we did not have a lot of things. However, I remember because I went to school and I was educated, I had very basic knowledge of the English language. I did not speak English as I'm speaking it now, but I knew the alphabets, I knew some words, I knew how to introduce myself. So when the Americans first came, at 2003, I was lucky enough because I knew how to communicate and how to say hello, and that was my first time that I felt that I'm privileged. Because
Citizens of Iraq often have a hard time finding work that pays a livable wage. Enough countries have trade embargoes with Iraq that their economy has stagnated to an unlivable point for its citizens, so naturally, there's a strong incentive to leave. My next interview involves a man of Ethiopian descent named Haile Asnaka. Haile is proud of his country of ancestry and is happy to give back to Ethiopia because to him, Ethiopia is owed for raising him. If you had the opportunity to share these monetary privileges with people back in Ethiopia, would you?
Yeah, I am eager to transfer and to share anything what I have to my community back home. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that for them?
Your homeland is actually the one that makes you feed to the other environment, right? So my home country, Ethiopia, invests a lot on me, right? They give me free education. It's not possible here in US, right?
Haile is important to my growth through this project because of his experiences with racial privilege and racism, and why, though this country provides better economic opportunities than Ethiopia, it still has its problems.
Equality at all.
What experiences have given you this opinion on?
Yeah, one of them is racism.
Racism?
Yeah, racism. Sometimes you can't get employed. Maybe even the recruiting system here in the United States is different. It's interview based. You interviewed me for a job, and if you doesn't like me, I can't get that job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's psychology. There's people psychology, and if people are racist, means it's hard to get a job.
I heard Haile discuss how he was treated in a more negative way because of his ethnicity, and yet he works as a software release engineer for the IT division in Sinclair, making over $100,000 a year. So my thoughts are leaning more towards racial discrimination did not impede his career achievement. So when Haile brought up America's privileged passport, our passport is fifth in global recognition, this echoed with me about Mo when he discussed the difficulty in working with Iraq's passport. In a case where early in Mo's schooling, he received an invitation to attend a university in Sweden, but was unable to due to Iraq's passport not being accepted. America's passport privilege struck me less as an intentional privilege and more of a situational one. Speaking of personal growth, Chris McCandless illustrates the consequences attached to proper goal setting and follow-through. His 1990 escapade marks his journey to begin towards inner truth and prosperity, only initialized after months of planning and route setting. Quote, "The very basic core of a man or woman's living spirit is his or her passion for adventure. Living spirit in this case refers to one's drive. The logic behind the American dream is if a person is given a place where they can achieve wealth and success, then that is all the incentive they need. With some appropriate government piggybacking, all of those who don't want to give up what Mr. American Dream over there gave up don't have to. Keeping the details lean with regards to Chris's accomplishments, he teaches America something. Chris's definition of personal fulfillment are arguably different from the average American, being filled with journey and outdoor experience rather than that of fame and fortune, proving that though America is fine-tuned to pair people with money, one is not beholden to such a route. The question of privilege is how much of a part it plays in one's destiny with regards to options. Would Chris have maintained such personal freedom if he was African American or of Pacific Island descent? What of the wealth privilege that was involved? I consulted Johnny Smith, African American born and raised in Chicago, project housing. He, after spending a number of years in the Navy, is now postmaster of the Seattle district. Johnny, one of 13 children, sees his family size as a privilege.
14 kids. I didn't know anybody like that, so
You were the youngest of the...
I was the youngest of the boys, so I had a lot of mentoring
Okay.
outside my dad, which is most of my friends just had their dad or maybe one other sibling or something like that. They didn't have as many siblings, as definitely as many male siblings, so my sense of privilege and entitlement coming to think.
To Johnny, such family was crucial to his personal growth. Yes, it came at the cost of a good deal of his individuality, something he wouldn't truly reclaim until he joined the Navy, but his family helped present positive influences in Johnny's early life, which he feels helped keep him out of gang activity. It was also very important that his family be involved in the community and extend their large family privileges to all they could. So, did you ever feel obligated as a youth to try and share that same privilege that you had with your family, with your friends who didn't have as large of a family as yours?
Every day.
Yeah?
My family was very, we were very, we were taught at an early age that as far as our faiths to share with everything we had, and my parents shared our whole life with the whole neighborhood. So it didn't matter who you knew or where you were from. If you were part of our friend and our base, you were part of the family. So we were just taught that love is shared, and so part of that being privileged, whether we had one loaf of bread or 20 loaves of bread. If you had 20 friends, everybody got a slice. So we were just brought up that way. So we could not tell the difference. You always shared those privileges to the extent you could.
Did you ever... Matthew Harpst is my attempt to come full circle. He is a 54-year-old white Seattle native who I believe would give you my final glimpse into the life of different forms of privilege.
And that's why I can say that I'm not denying that some privilege does exist, but I think that privilege exists because of monetary reasons for money, right, and status, right? So in community, privilege could be from community, from a very poor community that has no money, but the privilege could extend to the reverend. He has the privilege of having everybody's respect because he's a reverend in that community, right?
So it's really based on... Matt is interesting because he is my conservative counter to past interviews. He believes that the boundaries of privilege do not exist on a scale that cannot be overcome by individuals of strong hearts and minds. Hearing Matthew share these views was alienating. Matt's reasoning behind his opinions on the effect of one's lack of privilege in general is that it will only stop you if you let it.
Minds because they think they can't leave. And in today's society, when we can get up and go anywhere, we don't need a car. We got buses, we got our feet. It's not like the old days where you just sort of stuck in one area and that's where your community stayed. You have the ability to leave those areas and to say, you know what, I want something better. I'm not willing to accept what society has deemed me to be. You can't keep me in this box. I can do whatever I want. The whole world is out there, and you can see it with people, without history, through.
To Matt, your destiny is already your responsibility. Much more can be achieved by discovering ways you can improve rather than trying to change the environment. This approach to personal repair reminds me of Janie Crawford. Janie dealt with her husband similarly to the way that Matt dealt with difficult people. Be it with her leaving Logan Killicks, defending herself from Joe Starks, or murdering Tea-Cake, Janie proved again and again that she was her only defense against her life being taken from her in different stages. Her deep, rustic conservatism pushed her to strike back and not let herself be taken. "You done lived with me for 20 years and you don't have to know me at all." This quote captures Janie's resentment towards Joe as he lay dying. In order for an individual to self-actualize and seize their destiny, he or she must have the knowledge of their self-worth, to know that they are worth preserving at any length for their American dream. It is true that in different, arguably most parts of the country, the actualization of the American dream is made easier for certain races over others. This is done through tactics of deception, telling the young marginalized people that there are obstacles they cannot remove, obstructing them from enacting their dream. This can carry on to other countries as well, where those countries' citizens have their own dreams of success, but are often too burdened by their less developed nation's problems for them to have time to self-actualize. To conclude, I still believe that hard work can achieve any monetary goal, but now I understand the danger behind not educating people about how much success is reachable for them, how they can make themselves their only obstacle, and just because privilege puts one person closer to the American dream finish line, it doesn't mean that no one else can cross it.